Like,
and I could just date somebody who's wasn't previously addicted to heroin.
But that person you're dating who's never been addicted to heroin could still get addicted to heroin while you're with them.
True.
So,
Sure.
but also I do think it's valid to have that preference.
And,
all
and I'm
the
not
risk you're
saying
taking.
I'm not saying that people who used to be substance users or whatever are bad people.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing an assessment of who I want to date, I am going to take into these these things into consideration. Not to say that there couldn't be growth.
Yeah.
You know, you can't grow from that. But when it comes to tattoos, piercings, again, just to be clear, a tattoo isn't a deal breaker necessarily. Like, I will date a girl who has tattoos. There is a level to it. Like, no offense to you, I'm not like trying to dunk on you or anything. Like, I'd probably, unless she'd have to be fucking amazing.
Like really funny.
No, that's
okay.
negative. No, just kidding.
Funny's important in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, probably if she has a neck tattoo, I'm just immediately, it's just a disqualifier right away.
Perfect.
right, but you could still work around the hand tats.
Hand tats probably. I mean, I have a preference towards minimal or no tattoos.
Okay.
It's not 100% a deal breaker. Like some of the ones on your arm, like I'm not going to be like instantly, okay, deal breaker just off that. You are heavily tattooed other places.
Well,
I think for some guys it's going to be a deal breaker.
question for you. What if like you
That's
met
okay.
someone
Yeah.
and like say like it's winter, they're wearing a turtleneck, you have no idea like how many tattoos they have.
Yeah.
And you really vibe with them.
Sure.
And you end up really liking them. And then it turns out they have a bunch of tattoos.
Sure.
So are you gonna stop talking to them or be unattracted to them just because they have hella tattoos? Or are you gonna go off of the vibe?
I mean, again, so it would depend how many tattoos.
Okay.
It's not always 100% a deal breaker.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, I would say I'm going to probably lose some level of attraction for that person. I might be less inclined to want to pursue a relationship with that person.
So you don't think personality is more important than how they look?
Oh, you don't think looks?
She went deep.
Wait, no, that's
do
not
matter.
a dunk. I'm
Looks
about to
do
respond.
matter. I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like if you already really like someone based off their personality,
Sure.
you're gonna not like them as much once you see they have tattoos.
Wait, but wouldn't you agree that you can like somebody for their like you like their personality, but there's other characteristics they have you dislike, and so you're not going to date them?
Yeah, if they don't like wash their butt or something, but like I'm not gonna like be upset because they have tattoos or piercings or.
Well, how about this? I mean, if a woman, there's all kinds of things, and this can go both ways. Like, if there were things that were not disclosed to you ahead of time, but you otherwise liked them before you made the discovery, yeah, you can choose not to date them. You can, yeah.
I
I
think,
think that's why icks are icks. You
Yeah.
know, like you learn further down the line that you don't like something.
yeah.
I don't
If
think it's
he-
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
If he
go ahead.
randomly, if he was dating her and she ended up taking her hoodie off and he was like, whoa. If he got the ick, he got the ick. Like, that's
Yeah.
on him, you know? Some people aren't bothered by it. Some people are.
Yeah, I think everyone's like entitled to their opinion for sure. I guess I was just asking like if you really vibe with someone, like I'm willing to accept certain things, especially like personality wise. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or I mean looks wise.
Yeah. I guess ultimately, though, not a deal breaker. When it comes to piercings, these aren't piercing. I think piercings tend to be less bad than tattoos.
Because you
Take
can
'em
take
out.
them
A
out.
piercing you
Yeah.
can take out. Tattoos, I mean, unless you get the
What does your
removal or
tattoo
whatever.
say? What does your tattoo say?
Oh, this one? It's Supicia in Thai.
So yeah, I guess ultimately though, kind of red flag a little
Well,
bit.
I'm curious. Like, sorry if you've already said this,
No, you
but
can
like,
ask,
what do you think that piercings and tattoos like convey about a person?
Yeah, sure.
Like, what
yeah,
is
thank
the
you.
red flag?
Yeah, thank you for reminding me about that. Yeah, so I think it can have to do with impulsivity. It can also just be an indicator for other sorts of things. For example, like I don't want to date somebody. Again, you could be fully blasting tattoos, and it doesn't always necessarily indicate this, but I tend to like make an immediate judgment when somebody, as they're more tattooed, I'm leaning more towards drug usage. I'm leaning more towards promiscuity. I'm leaning more towards impulsivity. I'm leaning more towards, has there been potential trauma in the past? And I think these things, again, I'm not saying people can get tattoos and it's not an indicator of any of these things, but that's going to be kind of my snap judgment. And honestly, if you do ask people who are heavily tattooed, there is a greater proclivity towards drug use. Again, somebody could be totally no tattoos and be the biggest addict ever, of course. But what I'm saying is, when I do see that, instantly I'm just gonna have these prejudgments, and I could be wrong. But that's the prejudgments. A greater proclivity towards drug use, promiscuity, and past trauma that I don't want to deal with in a relationship.
I don't think, this is just my opinion, obviously, but like I don't think trauma, depending on the situation, is necessarily fair, because it matters how they handle it and like how they heal from it. However, like usually trauma isn't our own fault.
Oh,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean? Like,
Yeah, sure. I'm 100% agree with
Yeah.
you. Trauma is typically, well, it depends, but
everyone has trauma, you know, to some extent.
trauma typically is not your fault.
Yeah.
Typically.
Usually.
Whether it is or isn't, though, whoever's fault it is, typically I think it's people's preferences. I don't know about women, but I don't want to deal with somebody who has a bunch of trauma. I don't want to deal with that in a relationship.
Do you have trauma?
Well, it defines.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I think it's more important not whether or not they have trauma, more so have they worked through their trauma so they're not actively reliving
Exactly.
it and
Not
bringing it into the
blaming that part.
relationship.
Not
How
blaming you
they're
for it.
acting.
Sure,
Yeah.
but I mean, it would still, even if they've worked, I guess, yes, it's good if they've worked through their trauma. Can they be fully healed? Yes. It's probably still better, though, to have not gone through said thing. Like, it's probably better because even if they're
I sincerely disagree.
right, it's
with
better
that.
to not have had the trauma.
Well, yeah,
And then,
in
like-
that sense, but
but
like not in
people
a
aren't
dating sense.
Well, what do you mean? In a dating sense, yes.
Yeah, like in a dating sense, I disagree because if somebody goes through trauma, sometimes, if again, there's some people who are traumatized who bring their shit into the relationship, but for people who are traumatized and have actually worked through their stuff, there's certain characteristics that they may have, not explicitly because of their trauma, but could be enhanced by their trauma, such as there are so many entrepreneurs out there who are multimillionaires now because of the drive that they had when they grew up in poverty, where they grew up in abusive households.
okay.
So drive,
But
empathy.
wait, really quick on that, and I'll let you continue. Most men, and at least for me, I don't care about a woman's like career ambitions and drive for success. And
Sure.
like that's not an attraction trigger.
I
in men.
understand that, but that doesn't- it's not
that's
explicitly-
great. But
yeah.
I get that like trauma can be a motivator in life for you to succeed, but you have to remember I'm looking at this through a dating paradigm and a dating lens.
Yeah, no, that's
if it's
what
the
I'm
case that men are typically not attracted to you as women when it comes to your career ambition
Yeah, so
and
let me-
success, how that wouldn't be like if you're gonna make a convincing argument
Yeah,
that
okay,
well
I'll-
Brian you should like okay I don't care about a woman's
I'll apply it into
career,
a different
really.
context then. So he has drive, like, for example, like what I've seen typically is people who had some sort of trauma, they can have really deep morals and expectations of how they expect their
Sure.
family to be raised, how they expect to raise their children. There's so
Okay.
many parents out there who are not, who have not gone through trauma, who are bad parents because they just got a little bit lazy. But you see some people who have been traumatized, who've had bad parents, who go to parenting classes,
And
who
the
take
experience.
child psychology courses, who are actively trying to be better daters. In fact, what I've seen is that people who have had bad dating experiences, who intentionally go to therapy and into coaching to become better people and to stop having these dating experiences, actually learn how to date better and how to be better partners because they know what toxicity looks like and they're deciding to make a change. So I'm not saying that every single person who's traumatized automatically makes them a better partner. I'm saying that a person who has worked through their trauma and has become a better person for it, it matters who they are now, not happened to them. One exception that I could possibly see is that if somebody just has a preference for their partner to have a healthy family dynamic. Like, so let's say their father is really abusive, is a drug addict, takes lots of money. I'm not saying that this is a valid reason to like, or a that everybody should deny it because of this person, but I can understand how it could be a preference that if you don't want to date somebody who has family issues.
Well, okay, so I can see this going both ways, though. So let me give the example of somebody who has an alcoholic father. You can see two things happening from that. You can see the manifestation of being in like an abusive household with an alcoholic father. It can go two ways. It can be that person never even touches alcohol, becomes sober, and makes a promise to themselves and their family that they will never repeat that same thing. But then we also see the other thing where they also follow that pattern of, what's the word for it? Pattern of, Nick? Cycle, I guess, yeah, where they also become an alcoholic. And the other thing is when people experience certain traumas, and again, this isn't the case all the time, but people will see those, not all the time, but sometimes what you witness growing up in a traumatic environment, that's the kind of relationship dynamic some people are going to gravitate towards. Not always. Sometimes it's the opposite. You're like, whoa, I never want to go have that relationship dynamic. But also you see it the other way where it's like, that's kind of what they find attractive in a partner.
I think it goes both ways because, like, I grew up in, like, a traumatic, like, household. And, like, either you repeat that pattern or you want to be the opposite of it. But also I think that, like, there's people who have gone through nothing in their life, like, generally speaking.
Sure.
And they should go to therapy, and they're not good people. You know what I mean? But, like, just because they don't have trauma doesn't mean they're a good person. And just because someone has trauma doesn't mean they're a bad partner or a bad person.
Sure. Well, yeah, you can make an argument as follows.
Yeah.
Somebody who's lived a really sheltered life might not have... they could potentially lack in empathy. They might, be kind of obnoxious or bratty or whatever it is. Or they might, if they grew up like super spoiled or rich, that can come with its own sort of negative personality traits. But I think, like, I guess what's the entailment here is, should then we seek out people who have been traumatized because they make better partners?
I think you
should. Is that the entailment of the position?
Vibe
But
with.
you shouldn't write someone off for their
That's
trauma.
fair.
Yeah.
I'm saying,
that's
like,
fair,
the whole theme
but-
is like, who are they right now? Not what happened to them, not what they experienced. How did they respond to it, and who are they now? Because if they can respond to their trauma and decide to take responsibility and
this
grow,
idea of perfect healing, I'm not sure if I buy into it, because I do think that these traumas, even if you've been to therapy, they can rear their ugly heads and can manifest down the road in a relationship. So if you have the option of dating somebody who's like gone through a bunch of shit versus somebody who hasn't, and you can make that determination. I'm not saying that they're a bad person, but we're all very selfish and greedy when it comes to who we're going to date, spend our time with, be intimate with. We're all very, very selfish. So I'm just saying, I think it's okay to make a determination of like, I'd prefer to date somebody who hasn't had a bunch of trauma.
Yeah.
And also, I think trauma tends to masculinize. It never feminizes, typically. So when men have gone through a bunch of fucking shit, they become rough around the edges, which I think women tend to find more attractive. It's within the masculine paradigm. When women become traumatized, they also fall more into their masculine. Generally speaking, like a really rough woman doesn't come off super feminine to me, like who's been through some fucking shit.
Okay, so you're saying though that if a man's been through a bunch of stuff and they're
He
really
becomes more masculine.
Yeah, and then God forbid a woman goes through a bunch of shit and then you're not attracted to them? Like,
so I
what the hell?
I have actually direct experience.
Just one thing, but I'll let you go ahead. So again, and it's not always the case. Also, I would actually say you actually can see hyperfemininity in women who have been traumatized, especially in early age. For example, this is one indicator that I've noticed is, have you ever met a girl with like a really high-pitched baby voice? Some people theorize that this is due to the fact that they were traumatized at that age and their vocal development has kind of got glued to the kind of age at which they were traumatized. And so you see this, and I'm not like poking fun at this. It's a terrible thing that they're traumatized, but their voice kind of gets stuck, and that is kind of an indicator, and they go like kind of in this more hyper feminine direction. So it can also, like, abnormal psychology go there too.